Over the past few years, I dove pretty deep into the world of anime. I've seen some good ones, some okay ones, and then there were some that just flat out disappointed me. And I'm about to give the list of the following shows that could have been good, but resulted in coming up short instead. Some of you may disagree with these choices, and that's fine. But keep in mind, I respect your opinion so long as you'll respect mine. With that in mind, let's begin. Number 5. Black Butler 2. As the title suggests, I'm only commenting on the second season, which is why it's low on the list. I enjoyed the first season. It had its flaws, but was still pretty enjoyable. I love the characters, the story, the music, and how it was resolved even if the ending was somewhat abrupt. The second season, however, was pretty pointless. The second season, as reviewer Taname-chan puts it, was basically fan service. On one hand, it was good to see the characters again, but on the other hand, we're not given much to do. Sebastian and Ciel pretty much returned due to a cop-out. The antagonists were annoying and served little to nothing in terms of plot, and when they did, resulted in an even bigger cop-out. Alois Trancy is an unlikable, unsympathetic brat. His butler Claude has no personality and is clearly no Sebastian. I guess this was their way to make up for the less than satisfactory ending with the first season, but this didn't really move anything along. So if you have any love for Black Butler, please stick with the first season and avoid the second season entirely. Number 4. This Ugly Yet Beautiful World. I saw this anime nearly a few years ago. It looked promising for the summary, so I watched it in less than a few days. Gainax released this series as an anniversary project to all their previous works, and it showed from the alien girls to fan service to the singer who did the theme for Evangelion. The problem is, it's 12 episodes long and felt like I didn't really gain anything from watching it. By that, I mean it left little to no explanation on what was going on. The side characters were annoying and pointless. The love triangle with the cousin, the guy, and the alien girl, I didn't really care all that much for it. You knew he was going to end up with the girl, the alien girl, so why have a love triangle? I probably wouldn't have minded it much if the cousin was a little more sympathetic, but I just found her kind of bratty and obnoxious to listen to. The show leaves more questions unanswered than the entire Evangelion series. The ending was terrible, and it felt like the show couldn't make up its mind what kind of audience it was leaning towards. There were times where it acted cutesy and romantic, times where it acted like a sci-fi, random nudity moments that were uncomfortable to watch, and the character development had little to no progress. It did have me laughing a couple of times in comedy, but other than that, didn't really leave an impression on me. It was disappointing because it did have a potential to be an interesting tale, but clearly got lost on the way. So if you haven't seen this one, it's a good idea to skip this one too. Number 3. Lucky Star. This is going to give me some controversy. I found Lucky Star to be kinda boring. It took a few attempts to watch the first episode all the way through without getting distracted. That's how uninterested I was. I managed to watch 10 or 11 episodes of it, but it didn't really click all that much. The only thing that caught my attention was the Lucky Channel, which usually occurred at the end of each episode. If the Lucky Channel had its own little mini-series, then I could have just watched that instead of going through what was given to us in Lucky Star. The references didn't really intrigue me, save for a few Sergeant Frog nods. Otherwise, I'm not too fond of this anime, and this was one of the following shows that bored me to the point where I couldn't really finish it. To me, it was bland, forgettable, and a little on the overrated side. Number 2. Togainu no Chi. Togainu no Chi is a boys' love visual novel that came out in 2005, developed by Nigel Chiral, and it did so well that they decided to make an anime out of it 5 years later, produced by A1 Pictures. And if you're a fan of the visual novel, you are going to be extremely disappointed with this adaptation. A1 Pictures, I've seen your work with Black Butler, Blue Exorcist, Magi. Why is it that while these shows look good, Togai no Chi came out poorly with a stingy color palette, lazy looking character designs, and at times pretty sloppy animation? It's pretty clear that the budget for this wasn't all that good and had to cut corners, especially towards the very end. Aside from that, the story was underwhelmed, rushed, and the characters were not only watered down, but completely underplayed. I wasn't buying the drama with Rin all that much, and Akira and Keisuke's relationship, while one of the few things that sort of worked, felt completely vague and ambiguous unless you've seen the visual novel ahead of time. Shiki pretty much spent the entire show swinging his sword at people and calling them trash. That's it. I wouldn't have minded them taking out the yaoi so much if the show hadn't spent the entire 12 episodes teasing the audience with the obvious central tensions going on. Make up your mind, show. Are you going to play it out that way or not? Not to mention, the voice acting was a little subpar at times. As much as I admire Jun Fukuyama, this was one of the few cases where I felt he sounded a little forced. Rin didn't really sound all that natural the way he played it out, except for his threatening moments. Bottom line, you're not going to miss out if you skip this one and just play the visual novel instead. Otherwise, find the playthroughs on YouTube if you have trouble downloading it. And the number one disappointing anime on this list as of now is Blood Sea. Out of all the shows I mentioned earlier, this series is number one for feeling like I wasted my time watching it. If Togai no Chi disappointed me with how poor it was in animation, budget, and writing, Blood Sea takes the cake in while having nice animation and fighting sequences, had a very underwhelmed story on account of how violent it all was. There are so many problems I had with this show, but I'll narrow it down to 4 to get my point across. 1. The show is 12 episodes long and it takes until near the very end for them to explain what is going on. 2. Saya has little to no success at protecting people. When she keeps saying, "I'll protect everyone," it never happens because it ends up with them dying a horrible death anyway. And after they die, her demon power, vampire power, or whatever will finally kick in and slay the monster. Why does it take so long for her to finally get strong and take the monster down? 3. I felt like this show was made for the purpose of how gruesome they could animate the death scenes. There was less story and more gore scenes, including how it all ended. 4. The ending. The ending left off on such an inconclusive note that I wanted to pull my hair out at the end. It left me feeling annoyed, wondering what the point of it all was, other than to feel trolled for watching it. Now I know what people are going to say, but the movie makes up for it. It's way better than the show and doesn't cover it all that much. Even so, the fact that it had to take a movie adaptation for the series to finally become good is not a good sign. I haven't seen the movie yet, but even if I did, I'll still feel the same as I did after watching this show. I'll still feel completely disappointed that this show had a good opportunity to be a different take on Saya's story, but was ruined with the way they kept dancing around the truth until the very end. Overall, this show is so disappointing that I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist and just focus on the series I watched prior to this that was actually well thought out. Blood Plus. Now there was a show with better writing, and Saya actually did save some people in this story, which is way more than I could say for Blood Sea Saya. Well, there you have it. This was my top 5 anime that disappointed me. Shows that could have been good, but ended up going completely downhill instead. Later on I might make another video, but on anime I love and honestly have more to choose from in this category. I hope you enjoyed, and goodbye for now.